This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 173.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 173, and today's special guest is Kevin Koskella. He is the founder of Try Swim Coach. He is a podcast host at Freedom Lovin', and he's also a co-founder of Work Hero. Really cool episode ahead of you, so enjoy today's show. Hi, Kevin, and welcome to the Extra Paycheck Podcast.
Thanks, Alex. Great to be here.
Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and what is that you do as a business.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I've been doing online business since 2003. So I'm kind of an OG in the realm of internet marketing and digital marketing, things like that. I started a information products business back originally, and I was in the health and fitness area. I was doing some personal training. I was doing some swimming lessons, actually. And I built up a business. I started with a personal training website that had sort of like a online training component to it. And then I actually shifted to more of a niche product, which was at that time I was giving adult swimming lessons. And that turned into at first just a kind of like a side business. And then I found that there was a pretty big niche of people that needed swimming help online. And I niched down to triathlon swimming. So that's swim, bike, run events. People sign up for them, and then they really need a lot of swimming help. So that's where I came in. And I started with an ebook and was selling that on my website. And then I eventually updated that to make a DVD. And then as DVDs kind of faded out of popularity, I created a membership site. And I've been doing that for the last few years, running this triathlon swimming membership site called tryswimcoach.com. And so that's kind of my background in terms of like online marketing. And then last year, I started a business called useworkhero.com. It's a service that it's a monthly flat fee for people that need help with their WordPress websites in terms of technical and design tasks. So we offer unlimited tasks for a flat fee. So that brings me up to date now. I also have a podcast called freedomlovin.com that I talk about anything freedom related. So so that's about it.
That's awesome. A lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, probably too much. I need to cut down and focus on one thing a little bit more.
All right. So I have quite a few questions now just from your introduction, and I don't know where to start. Okay. So first of all, let's go back to your swimming info products, and this is more on a I would say personal experience thing, because I've been doing affiliate marketing and I sold a lot of these kind of products as an affiliate back in 2007, 8, 9 or so. But I noticed in 2009, actually, late 2008, 2009, the interest for that went down quite a bit. And I contribute that to the fact, that really harsh economic times in the US. And I feel like a lot of people just stopped buying info products simply because, they didn't know how to pay the rent, and it was something that really fell in the background. And I noticed a lot of info products kind of died or got shut down in 2009 because of that, I guess. Did you experience anything similar back in those days, or was your product completely out of that?
I did actually experience some of that, but it was also partly for me. It wasn't just, I actually never really thought about it being the overall economy, because I think I'm in a niche that people are pretty hardcore. They're very dedicated to their sport, and they'll spend, like a lot of people in my market, they'll spend thousands of dollars on a bike wheel and to make them a little bit faster, have a little bit better bike. And so I've always had this product where it's somewhere around, usually it hovers around $70 to $100 to join our site. So it's not a really expensive membership. Mm-hmm. And but I did have some struggles back in those years, and partly I attributed it to there was this. For me, it was around 2009 and 10, because I started looking at my sales were kind of dropping, and I was selling my biggest product was a DVD. And I started from myself, right around that time, I was kind of getting out of DVDs. I was minimalizing, and I was doing more video online, watching more video online. And didn't even, I don't even think I had a DVD player at that point, but apparently I was not, I was a little bit ahead and kind of, I wanted to get away from selling DVDs. So I started kind of minimizing that on my site, and I started building a membership site. And so when I offered that originally, I had this, I thought it was an awesome membership, and there was just so much information I was giving them. And my first, when I first released it, it did not do well at all. Like, I was really struggling. So I went back to just focusing on the DVD because the sales weren't there. So yeah, I did have a drop, and I was struggling there in those years, like 2009, 2010 were pretty tough. But then eventually people started to understand, I think, membership sites and what they actually were, and how it's way better than just getting this, 55-minute DVD, which has good information, but it's not the whole comprehensive package. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And okay, so let's move to the Work Hero, right? When did you launch that, first of all?
Yeah, so I officially launched it actually August of 2017, so about a year ago. But it took a few months to really get off the ground. So I feel like it's still brand new, and we're still building, and I'm building teams and, kind of figuring out the right ways to market.
Mm-hmm. And how did you get this idea? Because you were, as you said, into, products that related to sports, triathlon, and then you're moving to a territory which is completely different. You said this is a service that helps people with WordPress mostly. How did you, that's a big switch. That's a completely different industry and market. How did that happen?
Yeah, I love that question because it is quite different. How it happened was a few years ago, I went to this conference that's here in San Diego, where I am. It's called Traffic and Conversion. And these guys were, at that point, they were building these certification programs where you could go to them and get certified in all these different things, like in marketing related, like social media or content writing, things like that. And I thought that was a really cool idea that they were doing that. So I thought, well, I could build a business around, this whole, kind of like a marketing agency, but specialize in kind of information products, online businesses that don't have huge budgets, because their prices were super reasonable in this training. So I started going down that path, but then I realized that I didn't really want to own, to have an agency. It was just a little too much. And then I looked at, what do I struggle with the most? What have I struggled with the most in building my own businesses? And that's been two areas. That's the technical tasks, like anything to do with fixing WordPress issues or updating WordPress, things like that. And then design, like graphic design. So I'm not a designer. I didn't come from a tech background. So those are the two things that I struggle with. And I've always hired various people, and I've gone through different VAs, different services, and I've never really found the right combination. And I thought, well, I want to build something that I can use as well as offer for people that struggle with the same things that I do. And so that's where Work Hero kind of came about. And I looked at some of the other companies that were doing similar things, and they were having all kinds of success. So I just went for it. And I've also hired a lot of people over the years, and I feel like I'm pretty good at both the hiring and then managing people. So that was something that interested me, and I kind of wanted to do more of that. So those are kind of the reasons why I started Work Hero, and now it's I spend a lot of my time marketing and managing. So
Awesome. So Kevin, take me through the actual process. Let's say I do have a WordPress site and something broke on it, or I want my website to do something that it's not doing right now, and I get in touch with you. I hire your company. What happens after that?
Yeah, well, first we have a 14-day free trial. So I encourage everybody to try it out for free for 14 days and then see if it's a good fit. Because a lot of people, some people come to us with lots of tasks. Like they have immediately right off the bat, they have things that they want to get done, and both in both areas, in technical and design. And those are the people that are great fits, because we want as much as possible, because we do offer unlimited. And so we want people to take advantage of that and not just have like one or two things here and there. So that's the best way to start, is to try the 14 days, see if it's a fit. Some people have come to us and they realize once they start working with us that they just don't have that much work. So they're like, maybe they update their site like once a month. And so this doesn't make sense use us. Like there's specifically, I've had people that are like realtors that they just have kind of like a business card website. So there's a few things that they'll need done here and there, but they're not like, constantly needing ads run or, updating images or anything like that. So that's kind of how we start out. And then once they become a customer or during the trial, they can send in tasks, and right now it's email based. So we use a system called Intercom, so we can see all the tasks and we can keep track of everything and what's going on. But the customer, we just interact over email, and then they just send us up to 3 tasks at a time. We'll do one at a time, and we'll give them updates as to, what's going on. Is it done? Do we need more information? And then we just go from there. And then they can just keep sending in more tasks as we go. And usually what people end up doing is they kind of get into some sort of pattern. So they will send us their tasks like once a day, and then we'll do them. Our teams are spread out in Philippines and Eastern Europe. So we try to cover all the time zones, but sometimes they're working with someone in a specific time zone. So that'll take, we can't really quote like exactly how long things will take, but we try to get it done usually in a day, or at least have an update.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. And one thing that I don't fully understand, although you did mention that, you outsource to countries where, let's say, people charge a little bit less for these kind of services, but you said that it's unlimited. And I could only imagine people abusing your service, using, way too much of your resources, or having too many tasks, or simply being a pain in the butt, let's put it this way, right? And just like keep asking to redo something because that's how some people are. Like how do you deal with that? How does that not scare you? That some clients will completely abuse your service and cost you more than they pay you for it.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I haven't had that problem yet, but I do understand that concern, because that's something that I've thought about. But usually how it works is people come to us and they'll kind of go in spurts. So most people don't have, like, they're not just sending us massive amounts of tasks every single day, but they'll send like a ton of them all in one day, and then we'll work on those and finish them up. And then like maybe a week later or a few days later, they'll send more, or we'll have updates with those and different things that they want. So that has not actually been an issue yet. And actually everybody that has come through our system, I haven't had any complaints about, because we do them as fast as we can. We're trying to make everybody as happy as possible. And I actually haven't come across that, but maybe that's coming. Maybe I'll run into that one customer that's just going to destroy us. I don't know.
No, I hope not.
Yeah.
but there's also, there's also a way to fire your clients. If someone's obviously abusing, you don't have to, keep them on. You could keep them for a month and then be like, look, we can't work with you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that could happen. And I think it would be more that there's one thing that does come up sometimes is people have multiple websites, and we do work with multiple websites. But if it becomes like where they've got like 8, 10, 15 sites and they're just constantly swapping them out, that can be a real challenge for us. So I always talk to them about that up front to make sure, because we offer the way our service works is it's monthly, and you get up to 3 sites per month. But if you go to our yearly package, we can offer you to swap out sites, so you don't have to stick with just 3 only.
Mm-hmm. So it's 3 at a time, but I could use different ones.
Right,
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so Kevin, how did you start marketing this service? You said you launched it about a year ago. What was your first initial marketing push, or how did you get your initial clients, basically?
Yeah, I read all this before I even started the business. I read all this information about startups. I was reading a lot of Tim Ferriss and listening to a lot of the Y Combinator podcasts, which they go through so many different startups and how things have gone for various companies. And one thing that I didn't like with all that was this kind of like mystique around the idea of a startup. So I sort of got away from calling it a startup because I just didn't like that terminology, because there's so many businesses that aren't really businesses. They just start with a bunch of cash and then they just sort of go until they run out of their initial funding. And then they're like, oh yeah, that was a startup. It's like, I wanted something that was going to make money. So yeah, I started with one of the ideas I got from I think a lot of those sources was the idea of doing things that don't scale. So I basically was just calling people and emailing people and then posting messages on message boards talking about our service. And that's how we got our initial users. And then I started offering like extra, like, an extra free week of our service and things like that, so just a little bit extra, and then working with people and being happy to work with people for free, not being scared off about like, oh, we have to immediately get paying customers. So we got a lot of experience up front with a lot of different types of businesses and people that were using our service for free. And that really helped because I was able to hire based on what people's needs were, and then also just kind of see how things go and manage based on that. And then we started with a different service for our help desk. So we started with a service called FreshBooks, which was really good, but they were lacking. There was something that was lacking there, and it's like all that the first few months of going through all those users, we just weren't that happy with it. And then we ran across randomly, and I can't even remember how this. I think we saw it on a different website, but it's called Intercom, and started using Intercom, and that's been a really cool service. It's probably just slightly harder to learn than like FreshBooks, but it's once you get in it, it's just a really cool service, and there's it's kind of a little bit less of a help desk feel. Like they don't even have tickets or anything like that, but you can really see what's going on in all aspects. And so now I can't remember if I answered your question or not, but.
The question was, how did you get your initial clients? And you said it was basically doing things that don't scale, getting in touch with people personally and offering your service on one-to-one basis, kind of.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so now it's been a couple other things. So the next thing I did was to use a service that would get me on podcasts so that I could talk about Work Hero. And that's actually how we got connected here. And that's been great because I've been able to meet so many people through being connected on being on a podcast. And sometimes the podcast itself is really helpful. Like we'll get some interest from the podcast, but other times it's just the connection with the podcast host, and then that leads to something else, and that leads to something else. So I think, and that's been a second way. And then I just started, like the last couple of weeks, started doing Facebook ads, and that's been working really well. I had some experience doing that for my past businesses, and so it's something that I find that's really interesting because you can really niche down to the audience that you want. And my initial niche was not exactly where I'm ending, the place that I am at now. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, that's very interesting. And Kevin, out of curiosity, which podcasting connection, whatever service did you use?
Yeah, it's called Interview Connections.
Okay, cool. I haven't heard of this one. I'm going to write it down because I've seen quite a few of them popping up in the past few years since podcasts are getting more popular, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen quite a few new services offering exactly that, to find you, to find a podcast for you as a guest, or to find guests for your podcast, and so on. There's
right.
That's a whole other industry that just popped up kind of out of nowhere. I mean, podcasts have been around for like 15 years, if not more.
Right.
It just, the popularity of it is very recent. So all these services are also very recent.
Yeah. And you've done your podcast for a few years now?
Yeah. I started in April of 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's great. I mean, I think the more you can just be consistent, the better.
Yeah. There's that. It's actually, to be honest, the most consistent thing I have ever done when it comes to business.
Yeah.
Because I have a schedule. It's like every Monday I have to release an episode. So it forces me to be consistent, which is not a natural thing for me, which I really love going out of the comfort zone. And mostly what I like about podcasts, doing podcasts, is meeting people like you and other cool entrepreneurs that otherwise I wouldn't meet, right?
Yeah, that's how with my podcast, I found that I've had access to people that it would be really tough to just say, hey, let's have a conversation. But when I say, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Most people are like, yeah, of course, because most people like to talk about themselves and their business and things like that. So
yeah, totally. All right, Kevin, let's go to the other side of your business. technical side, business side. I don't know how to put it. So you have these people that are working for you, people that are solving these issues for your clients. How do you find these people? Because I know that, outsourcing and so on is also a big thing, and it has been big for many years, but I see the constant struggle for people to find the right coder, the right designer, the right programmer, and regardless which country and how much, you pay, because you could pay someone hundreds of dollars and they wouldn't do a good job, or you could pay someone $5 an hour and they'll do a great job. But unless you spend that money and give them enough tasks to figure out, if they're doing well, you aren't really gonna know. So how does it look for you?
Yeah, there's a couple things. There's one is I've done a lot of interviewing over the years for my other businesses, and sort of get a feel for what kind of person is going to be a good worker, contractor, employee, whatever you want to call it, where it's not necessarily that they have like they check all the boxes of like all the skills. That's important, but it's not nearly as important as some of the other factors, like how is their English, first of all, because I don't really hire people that are, kind of here in North America. I go mostly to the Philippines and then Eastern Europe. So, I look for things like the English, and then especially for Work Hero, I look for that next factor, which is like how friendly are they? Are they coming across as just being like, oh, I'm just here in an interview answering questions, or are they actually giving some answers that are a little bit friendly, like maybe using a little emoji, or just a little more of that, kind of personable aspect. And that's something I look for. And because I feel like there's a lot of people that they're plenty smart enough, and if they have some skills, then a lot of things they can just learn. And when it comes to WordPress and the things that we're dealing with, a lot of it is learnable. Like even our customers, they could go out and learn this stuff. It's not ridiculously technical. It's not like we're not building websites. We're not building apps or building plugins or anything like that. We're just working on issues and updating and things like that. So yeah, it's saving our customers time. And so a lot of the people that I talk to, I'm looking for that. Being able to learn, and then having some kind of demeanor that is friendly and personable, because that's what we're dealing with customers all the time over email, and we can teach some of that. We have like these canned responses that they can use, but they also need to be sort of oriented towards working with people to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And these people that you do hire, they work directly with the customer, or is there like another person that's, that between them?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question. They do work directly with the customer. So the first thing that happens when someone joins us is that they'll work with, we have somebody that's like a kind of a project manager or concierge, where they sort of help onboard that customer with backing up the website and making sure that all their requests are being sent to the right, we call them heroes, or part of our team. And then from then on, they're working directly with either the developer or the designer that they're assigned to. And then that concierge person actually oversees the whole process. So in case the customer needs anything else, or if anything goes wrong, like the response isn't fast enough, she will be on it and make sure that happens. So they do work directly, but they also have another person that kind of oversees things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's smart. I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah. The thing with me is I've been obviously at the other end of that, being a customer, and the most annoying thing is when you just feel like everybody's ignoring you. It's like you have some problem and it's not getting fixed, and you're just waiting for an answer, and it could be something on your site that you need fixed like right away. And there's nothing more frustrating than not getting a response. So I want to make sure that everybody's getting responded to fast, like as fast as possible. And we're tracking that too, so that if things start to like creep out, like down and get slower, then we'll know it, and we'll start to make some changes there.
Yeah. Awesome. And Kevin, how do you know the percentage of the clients that you have who are kind of one-time clients that, let's say, sign up for 1 month or so, compared to clients who are recurring, who sign up for a year or who sign up on a monthly basis but stick on for a year or, well, a year, many months. Like, yeah, like that. Do you know, like, percentage wise around how many clients are long term and how many clients really short term?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's more. It's probably about 50% that are going for the whole year. I mean, it hasn't even been a year yet, but it's like that that package. And then 50% will be more in that like kind of 1 to 3 month time frame. So we'll do like we'll start doing tasks for them, and then they get to a point where they've kind of had enough done where they don't really need us anymore. But what I'm thinking with those, and we haven't had this yet, but I'm thinking that they will come back eventually because they'll start doing it on their own, and they'll go, I think we need the automated service again. So,
yeah, I'm just asking you because I'm curious if it'll be more beneficial for you to market as a just WordPress help or an like ongoing WordPress help, because it feels to me that it's two completely different markets,
Right.
So yeah, that's why I asked you this question.
Yeah, and that's it's great because what I started marketing to when I originally started the business. I started marketing to people that were like me, like people that had online businesses that were solo, they didn't have a team, and I thought that's where the most help. Like that's where I already know that person, so that's what I'll market to. I wasn't getting a lot of responses there, and then we shifted to kind of focusing on coaches and trainers and things like that, consultants, and a little bit more, but still not an overwhelming amount of customers coming from that realm. But then I've kind of more recently, in the last month or so, I've been finding that who's coming to us are actual web development firms and also marketing agencies. So they have a lot of these people have lots of clients. And they'll build websites for people. So they'll actually start at the beginning, build a website for somebody. And then that customer has a lot more requests after the fact. So they're done, but they have like, okay, can I do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And pretty soon those 10-minute jobs start to add up and it becomes hours per week. And that company is not getting paid. So they're sending the customer to us now. And so then we can take care of all those little fixes, and it's a monthly flat fee. So it's not like we're billing per hour and we're worried about like what a lot of web development companies might be, where it's like, oh, I just did 5 hours of work this week that I'm not getting paid for. Whereas we're just like, yeah, just send us your tasks and it's monthly.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense actually, because I've looked at, well, I know quite a few people here locally in Montreal that have agencies or work for agencies. Different kinds of marketing agencies, including web design and development and so on, right? And just looking at their fees or how much they charge per hour, I can only imagine that they cannot afford giving the kind of support you give to your clients because, well, I guess that's one of the reasons most of your heroes come from Asia and Eastern Europe compared to US and Canada, because you just can't afford paying these people here with the prices that you charge for your service. It's simply impossible.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure I've never been to Montreal, but I'm sure it's just as expensive as here in San Diego where I am. It doesn't make sense. I mean, most people here, if you go to hire a developer, you're looking at $80 to $100 dollars an hour, and so that's not really doable. If you're just looking for maintenance, web maintenance, and having designs and things like that, that's a really tough one to pull off.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so is that your focus now? Are you going to be more proactive, going after agencies and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I've been actually focused on web development, web design firms, and that's been my focus in the last couple of weeks. Just because that's what I'm finding that people are very interested. And we had someone just sign up as an affiliate. So we have an affiliate program, and he's a developer, just a solo developer, but has so much business. And he said he's getting bogged down in all the requests. And so he's going to start promoting us as when he's done, then here's a service you can go to and get all these needs met, and for just a monthly fee. And so then he's happy because he gets to get away from doing stuff for free. And then he also gets a commission on anyone that signs up with us. And then the customer is happy because they're getting what they need at a very reasonable cost. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely the path that I'm going down right now.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you found people that have kind of your clients and you don't have to go after those clients. They kind of give them to you or pass them on to you. Like, there you go. These are your perfect clients.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's ideal. I mean, it's like I'd much rather get just as many referrals as possible than to be going out there and doing cold emails and cold calls and all kinds of advertising.
Yeah, of course. For the past, I would say, few months, I had quite a few guests here on this podcast that kind of did what you did at first. They did things that didn't scale, then they worked really, really hard to make sure the clients are satisfied, which resulted in a lot of referrals and a lot of good press. And now they don't even do any kind of marketing at all. And they say, all the money that we save on not doing marketing basically allows us to work better with clients, which in return brings more and more clients. And it's this circle that just never ends, right? They don't do marketing yet. They're getting more and more new clients because the work is so hard to keep their existing clients happy, right?
Yeah.
And in itself, it's a great marketing strategy, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a great way to go. And the way our business works, I think that's where we're going to get to, hopefully soon. But I also see a benefit to advertising. If we get to a point where we're getting so many referrals that we feel like, okay, we don't really need to advertise more, we can just expand. We just hire more team members, hire more heroes, and then we can start advertising and bringing in more business that way. So it's kind of, I think there's an endless amount of people out there that need help like this. So I'm seeing that. I don't know if there's a real limit, although it's nice to know that could happen where it's just like, okay, now just, let them come to me instead of, reaching out.
Yeah. And Kevin, is your affiliate program open to public or is it not?
It is, but the only affiliates I have are people that I know, like that I've talked to, that we've sort of established some sort of relationship, and then I mentioned the affiliate program and then we set it up, but I haven't been like marketing the affiliate program at all. So if somebody is interested, I'd love to talk to you and see what you've got going on. And then we can see if it's a good fit. Mm-hmm.
And is it an in-house affiliate program or are you using some kind of third party or some platform to run it?
Yeah, well, we have a plugin, an affiliate marketing plugin, but it's pretty much in-house.
Okay, cool. And I have another question for you, and I'd love to hear that. I'd love to have you say it publicly. I'll explain it, because WordPress is the platform that I recommend to everyone who needs a website or blog or any online presence. Right? I tell people that there's a reason it's the biggest and the most popular platform. And some people still try to persuade me that no, Drupal is better or was it a Squarespace? I don't remember. So many other platforms out there. Obviously, you're building your business around the Facebook platform. Why Facebook? I mean, WordPress. Why WordPress? Why do you think WordPress is the way to go?
Yeah, WordPress is. I'm a big fan of WordPress. I think it's an amazing platform. There's just so many things you can do with sites on WordPress that, whereas other platforms you're much more limited. And I think to get off the ground, like I totally get going to Squarespace and Wix and all that. I totally understand it because you can build something pretty quickly and get it up there, and then you have it. You're not spending months and months trying to figure it out. WordPress is a little more, there's a little more to learn with it. So you wouldn't just be able to, most people that aren't technical aren't going to just be able to jump on WordPress and have a site, good to go in a few days. It's going to take a little bit longer. And so, I think it requires a little more work, a little more learning. But it's just, so many other things that you can do that aren't offered on other platforms. I think that it's like, if you want to have a professional looking website and have lots of features and things that that make it in the long run, make it easier to manage, then I would go with WordPress. And I've seen people building these sites on some other platforms, and it's like right out of the box, it just doesn't look as good. I just look at it and go, yeah, I can tell that's not WordPress like right away. Because I look at sites whenever I'm looking at different businesses that could be potential customers. I'm instantly looking at, is the site WordPress? Because that's all we work with. We don't work with anything else. And I can usually tell like right away. So, but yeah, I don't know if that's specific enough, but I could go on about all the features and different plugins you can use and all that.
I don't think you can. There's so much. WordPress allows you to do so much. You can't go to all the details.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. If someone is building a website with WordPress and they don't understand something or something's not working, they could simply contact WorkHero and get that fixed.
Yeah. If you're with us, then you can. We can help you along the way. We don't build websites. So that's one confusion that people have. Sometimes they come to us and they're like, hey, I need to build this website. We don't actually start like a website from scratch. So we're looking for people that already have businesses using WordPress sites. And then, once you have that, then we can take care of most of the issues that you'll run into.
What kind of customization can you do when it comes to the design of the site? Let's say I have a picture in the right corner of my website, and I want it at the bottom left corner instead. And it's not a simple drag and drop. Mostly on WordPress, it requires a bit more than that, and sometimes it's not even. Well, I think it's always possible if you know how to code. But can you guys do that?
Oh yeah, that's actually pretty common of the kind of things we do, because that's something that I struggled with too. Is like I remember early on when I didn't know anything about how to build a website. I remember just like I would just want to move an image. Like I'm going to move an image from here to here, and I would do it, and then suddenly the entire website would be completely formatted, all like it just completely messed up. And I'm like, how did I manage to do that? So yeah, that totally. I mean, that's something we can totally do, and usually those are not super complex fixes, so they won't take us very long.
Mm-hmm. Do you also recommend certain themes for WordPress more than others?
Yeah, I mean, we can help people decide on themes, but we don't really get into like we don't really get into like recommending specific ones. I mean, we don't have like a list where it's like here's our preferred themes, because it's so different. Everybody's got such different ideas of what they want and the tastes and what their business is all about. So yeah, we can help with that, but it's not something that we necessarily have like our go-to themes or anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm asking you because some themes are a lot more and a lot easier customizable than other themes, right? So I figured if you recommended like a specific theme that's really easy to work with and has a lot of possibilities, it would simply be easier for you and the clients. But whatever. I'm going off topic here.
No, for sure.
All right, Kevin, as we're approaching the end of this episode, what would be your biggest suggestion to beginner entrepreneurs or someone who hasn't started a business yet, but they're thinking of starting an online business of some sort? What is that one thing that they should pay the most attention to?
I would actually, the words that you use, the one thing, it's like there's a book called The One Thing, and it's like that's everything right there, is just taking things one little step at a time. Because when I built my first business, Try Swim Coach, I had no idea how to do anything. And I knew that I needed to have like an opt-in page, a sales page. I needed to have like sales copy. I mean, all these things that I'd never done before. So it can be, if you look at the big picture, it can be way overwhelming and like, how am I going to do all this? But the way I did it was I took just one step. Like one day, I'm like, I'm going to figure out how to do an opt-in form. And that's all I'm going to do today. Like I'm not trying to build the whole entire site. I'm not trying to do sales copy, and I'm not trying to advertise on Facebook. I'm just doing the opt-in form. And so then I did that. Like I do that one day. Then the next day, it's like, okay, I figured out, it took me 6 hours. I figured out how to do an opt-in form. I have it on the site. And then the next step, what is the next step? And so it's just breaking it down into chunks and realizing that everything is going to take a lot longer than you think, no matter what. It's just always the case in business. It's always going to be there. And so if you can keep that patience in mind, that idea in mind, that things are going to take a lot longer, and you just need to focus on one thing at a time and build that, and then move on to the next thing after that. And eventually you'll have something in place. And so that's what I would say is just focus on that and not be in a rush. Like, I got to get this done all in, X amount of time, because then you start getting that feeling of like, oh, I'm not getting enough done. And pretty soon it leads to burnout, and then you quit, which is what most people do. So if you don't want to be one of those people, I would say just chunk it down and take it one step at a time.
Awesome. I love that advice. I completely agree with it. And I think that's the best way to go, especially if you're starting something that you have no idea about. An online business, for most people, that's exactly what it is. And as you mentioned, once again, what your service helps people with, it's, if it's too technical, you could always find an answer. You could find people that will help you fix that. If it's a design issue and you're not a designer, you don't know how to, open Photoshop, you can hire someone to help you with it. You don't have to, just look at everything and be like, oh my God, so much to do. That's it. I quit. I'm not doing anything. There's always a way out, especially if you're taking it step by step.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't frown at all on hiring a VA to do some of this stuff, especially early on. If you don't know what you're doing, it's great. That's how I started. I started with some just really inexpensive VAs to help me get my first website up. And it didn't look great, but it was like, hey, it's up, it's done. And so that there's something to be said for that. Like, you can find people on Upwork and Fiverr and places like that to just get you off the ground. And so you're not stuck on those things that a lot of people get stuck on.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, for people who want to learn more about you and, your business or businesses, where should they go?
Yeah, you can just go to the website. It's useworkhero.com, and you'll see I have a video there that it kind of explains the service a little bit more. And then you can sign up for the free trial there. And then I also have a podcast that I mentioned. It's freedomlovin.com. That's loving without the G at the end. And you can check out the podcasts if you were interested in freedom.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your story, and your tips.
Oh, hey, thanks, Alex. It's been a great time here, and all the best with what you're doing as well.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Extra Paycheck Podcast. As always, head over to extrapodcast.com/173. This is where I'll be putting up show notes page for today's episode. Also, head over to extrapodcast.com/Spotify in order to follow the show on Spotify, as well as extrapodcast.com/iTunes in order to subscribe to the show on iTunes. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Monday.